Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Is our preview of West Ham against Newcastle United at the London Stadium. Kick-off at 2 p.m. tomorrow. So myself, Charles and Dennis are joined by Tony from It's All Black and White TV. Subscribe to Tony's channel via the link below. Let us know your thoughts in the live chat and subscribe to Gage Football if you're new around here. So lads, thanks for joining. So there's only one place we can start today is West Ham got a fantastic win midweek against Freiburg in the Europa League, but that's nothing compared to Newcastle's win on Wednesday against Paris Saint-Germain at St James's Park. I mean, Tony, you must still be on a high from that win, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I'm coming down a bit from it now, but look, surprisingly, I did a match preview and I said we'll win this game 3-1. So I wasn't far off. But the thing is, I think they showed a lack of respect as well towards us, trying to be clever, trying to be cute. Marquinhos, I don't know what he was trying to do, lob that ball, but Bruno headed it back in towards Isak, who then had the shot and Almiron scored. And you're sort of thinking, well, 1-0 up, yeah. And then Dan Burns scores. Well, it looked like it was behind the line. Then it was flagged for offside. Then there was a VAR check, which went on for quite an eternity, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And then they were checking to see if Lascelles had handled the ball, but it wasn't deliberate handball, it was accidental. And Bruno was definitely onside because they showed you the automatic offside, which I think is a brilliant system, which should have been in the Premier League in all honesty.
Yeah, no, agreed.
So then it was given as a goal, so we were 2-0 up, and you're thinking half time, well, this is great, this second half. And then Trippier puts a lovely ball through to Longstaff. I didn't expect Longstaff to shoot, to be fair. I thought he was going to cross it, and then he's jammed. And it went under Donnarumma, and it was a poor attempt by a good goalkeeper, to be fair. So it made it 3-0, and then they pulled one back, which was a well-taken goal. Dembele had a few chances. Mbappe didn't really get a sniff. And then Cher caps it off with a bit of tenacity, getting that ball, and then Murphy passes it back to him, and as Cher's falling over, he shoots and, makes it 4-1. And, Luis Enrique at the end says, probably flatters us the result, and say, because they had more possession. Yes, they had 73% possession, but at the end of the day, as I always say, possession doesn't win you football. Putting the ball in the back of the net wins football matches, and that's the most important stat. And the stat is we won that game 4-1. I don't care if we only had 27% of that ball. We deserved that win. PSG tried to be too clever at times, and they paid for it. They did not. The pressing that we were doing, they didn't seem to learn from that, and they just kept on. They just kept on trying to be clever. And at the end of the day, they got what they deserved, a good spanking. And I did say on my preview, I'm actually looking, we are favourites for this game because against PSG, because when you look at that result last week, they went away to second bottom Clermont and only drew 0-0. Now, a team like PSG, who's got all these players, should be walloping a team like Clermont. They got beat off Nice. They've not had a great start this season. They've got Rennes tomorrow, who are just underneath them. I'll be surprised if Luis Enrique is still their manager when we go for the return leg at the end of November. But to go out and beat PSG 4-1, I don't think Dortmund will be looking forward to coming to us because they come to us after the international break.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with everything you said, Tony. And I watched the game. I was, watched it on TNT Sports, and even though the atmosphere obviously weren't there, but the atmosphere sounded absolutely incredible at St James's. And I think most football fans, well, maybe not Sunderland and Middlesbrough fans, but I think the majority of other fans would have absolutely loved, Dan Burn and Sean Longstaff scoring both Geordie lads, and they wouldn't have dreamed that they'd be playing for Newcastle in the Champions League, let alone scoring against one of the giants in PSG. But I think, Newcastle completely deserved it, and I think 4-1 did not flatter them. I think it could have been 5-6-1. It would have wouldn't have batted an eyelid, really. So, yeah, PSG were shocking on the night. So, I mean, Charles Dennis, I don't know if you guys watched it or seen the highlights, but, I mean, Charles, it's still a phenomenal win for Newcastle, and in their so-called group of death, they're top of the group with 4 points so far.
Yeah, I feel a bit stupid, actually. I've got a Newcastle fan. A friend of mine at work is a Newcastle fan, and, I was kind of being a little bit patronising, I suppose, saying, oh, you could still get third in that group and drop down to Europa League and do well.
Yeah. We're all thinking it. Don't worry.
Well, I tell you what, they've done really well. In that game, it's just an absolute demolition job. They're definitely favourites to progress in that group now. Yeah, they've just been a very impressive team for the last sort of year or two. And it's nice to see, the Newcastle fans sort of enjoying the European football that West Ham fans have been enjoying for the last couple of years, albeit right at the very top now. So, it's a good time to be a Newcastle fan. I'm sure Tony will agree with that.
Yeah, no, it's mental. I think, I think the way, I mean, yeah, possession-wise, Tony's actually bang on. It's the most important stat in football is the scoreline rather than how much you have the ball. But I mean, I think just Newcastle were way too much for PSG in terms of the high press and just didn't let PSG play. It would have been so easy, and rightly so, for them to sit off and let PSG have the ball. But that Newcastle were like, nah. Eddie Howe's like, no, but we're going for these, and they thoroughly deserved it. I mean, it's a great result then, for especially as
result.
Obviously they've got a good 0-0 draw away at AC Milan and San Siro, but to back it up with a home win against obviously Mbappe and obviously the fantastic players that PSG have, that's a really good start to their Champions League campaign.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, it's got to be consistent though. You can't take your foot off the pedal.
Yeah.
And obviously you can't take any of the games, any of the teams in that group for granted. PSG may have just had one bad day, but I don't think they're as good as people make out these days. I think came a little bit undone. I'm just glad, like you mentioned about Charles mentioned about seeing Newcastle fans enjoying European football. I'm just seeing Newcastle fans enjoying life. To be fair, we both sort of shared the absolute, for lack of a better term, shithouse ownership. You had Mike Ashley, it's a former Sports Direct employee. I didn't even need to get started on that, but on that guy. But end of the day, I've got quite a few mates from university that are Newcastle fans, and they're loving it. I mean, there's one that said, and there's a reason I'm saying this. He stopped really supporting Newcastle after uni because he said they didn't really feel any connection towards the club. But and he started supporting his local team, Carlisle. But what I would say is, I'm really glad Dan Burn scored, because it's a local lad scoring for his team. And is someone who's a bit of a journeyman centre back, but he's always gone pretty much under the radar. And he's getting his flowers after that. It was brilliant positioning, and I always thought he was money when he was at Brighton. I know Allardyce really wanted him when he was in charge of us, allegedly. But as a fourth centre back when we had Collins and Reed and Tompkins. But yeah, really glad for him there. And job's a good one. And as I said, I saw there was a Borough fan in the comments. I mean, I'm hoping Michael Carrick sorts you out. And bad dream is actually a bit more than a bad dream. I think pretty certain you were up for sale for about a decade and a half, weren't you?
Yeah, pretty much, mate.
Yeah, pretty much so.
All right, let's
mate.
No, go on, Tony, keep going.
Yeah. I mean, look, back to him. I mean, look, I don't like to mention the man's name, to be fair. I'll just call him the fat man. But anyway, when the last time we were under Pardew,
no, you just talk about Rafa Benitez like
when we were under. No, definitely not Rafa, because he's God. But no, I mean, under Pardew, we qualified for Europe, and then the owner went to the FA and said, "Oh, we don't want to play in Europe. We need to pull out. Can we pull out?" And they went, "No, you can't, because you're in the competition, because you finished fifth." He tried to get us out of the competition, And also, when you look at players like Sean Longstaff, Steve Bruce was trying to get rid of him a couple of years ago, and look what he is now.
Oh, yeah.
And why is he not in the England team ahead of Jordan Henderson is beyond me. Beyond me. Even Anthony Gordon should be in that England team. And I bet West Ham fans are happy he's not playing tomorrow, because that guy's bang on form this season.
No,
I know the last time we played, Champions League, we went out and thrashed Sheffield United 8-0. They took a hammering, but I'm not going to say the same score be tomorrow.
My only concern is, will Callum Wilson magically get fit? That's my only concern.
He's got a late fitness test apparently.
Apparently, he was training on the grass on Friday, so there you go. So was Joe Linson.
He starts. You got the 3 points in the bag.
Ashley's not the bad dream. It's Callum Wilson for us. Bad time to score against us.
Magic, touch of magic, mate. Touch of magic.
Bill, it's 12 in 13, mate.
Fucking hell.
And how many of those were scored with his hand?
I think just the one. I think.
Doesn't matter.
I was like, oh, fuzz. It's just the one goal, one handball goal actually.
One handball goal, actually. Yeah.
Just the one swan, then.
Just the one swan, yeah. Well, we'll talk about Wilson and team news a bit later on, but let's talk about Newcastle so far this season. Obviously, Tony will come to you in a minute, but just Dennis start with. I mean, obviously, Newcastle got to the perfect start with a 5-1 thrashing of Aston Villa at the start of the season, but then lost 3 in a row in the league. One of which was at home against Liverpool, which was a strange game. Obviously, Van Dijk was sent off, and then Liverpool scored 2 in the last minute through Darwin Núñez. So, and then Brighton beat them. But since that Brighton defeat, they've been unbeaten since. So, it looks like they're showing that form from last season.
Yeah, like I said, it's strange. It was strange to me that they were going on about how being under massive pressure, and I think that was a stereotype of these owners want success. I remember there was talk of like, eventually they'll go for Mourinho when Howe took over. Be like, he'll keep him up, and then they'll try and get Mourinho from Roma. But like I said, he's come back roaring, and if you look at their last few games, it's blistering form right now. And I'm not looking forward to tomorrow based on what I saw in the highlights of PSG. I reckon. I reckon Newcastle are going to do a number on us.
No, and Tony, I mean, as I was saying, that Liverpool result was a bit of a weird one, but I mean, since the Brighton defeat, I mean, been unbeaten in all competitions since then. What's changed? Was the style of play a bit different, or was it just like was Eddie Howe trying to find his best team, or was it just all the team just raised their game sort of since that Brighton defeat?
Yeah, I mean, look, the Liverpool defeat, that was a hard one to take because we were in control of that game. And if we'd got a second goal in that game, there's no way Liverpool's coming back. Yeah. The key point of that game was we took Tonali and Gordon off. And as soon as we took them off, you could see Klopp was like, wow, they've come off great. And then he stuck Núñez on. I think if them two stayed on, I don't think Núñez makes an appearance on the bench and we win that game. Obviously, the Brighton one, that was just an awful day at the office. Some fans were calling for Eddie Howe to go then, which was unbelievable, to be fair. Yeah. I've always been behind Eddie Howe, and I said, look, give the guy a chance. He'll come good. And I think because we had the international break, he put things right during that international break with the players he had. And then after that international break, we had that scrappy 1-0 win against Brentford, which we needed to win that game. And then obviously that set us up for Milan to draw 0-0. And then we come back from Milan, and then they were like, right, how are Newcastle going to come back from the Champions League? Now, the next game was at Bramall Lane against Sheffield United. I felt sorry for Harvey Barnes because he got a start in that game, and the poor guy went down with an injury with his toe, which is going to keep him out for 6 months. And I felt really sorry for him going off. And then Anthony Gordon came on. Changed that game around completely. Deservedly got player of the match. He was absolutely tremendous. And we went on and beat Sheffield United 8-0. And everybody said, that's how you come back from the Champions League. That's no champ. If we've got a Champions League hangover, we've just gone out there and absolutely mullered Sheffield United. We should have beat that. We should have been double figures, to be honest with you. We could have won that game 10-11-0, and nobody would have blinked an eye. No. And then obviously we had Man City in the cup. We beat them in the cup 1-0. Okay, some people might say, well, it was a second string team, but Man City have got 2 or 3 teams, and they're all strong. So, they were still playing the likes of Alvarez and that. Holland didn't make an appearance, but Foden did. And then obviously after we beat City, We had the Burnley game, we beat them 2-0. We could have beat them by 4-0. And some Burnley fans said we should have beat them by about 4-0. And then obviously we had the game with PSG, which ended 4-1. And the thing about October is Almiron loves October because he has a good scoring streak he did last year in October.
Yeah, you're right.
And he started again this season in October. So, he scored against Burnley, then he scored against PSG.
Oh, don't, yeah. You know what's going to happen tomorrow?
Almiron.
Yeah, no, what a play, mate. Underrated. Right, well, Charles, I mean, yeah, what have you made of Newcastle then? Obviously, scratchy starts of the season, but they've, obviously, with the, I mean, we'll talk about the injuries and suspension in a minute, but even though they've got a load of players out tomorrow, they still have a pretty strong team tomorrow. So shows off obviously they've got the squad depth there, and but obviously more importantly the quality as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Newcastle, they obviously had a shaky start, but if you look at their fixtures, they had Liverpool and City to start off August, and then obviously beat Villa, and have been pretty good ever since then, really. So yeah, they had 2 tough fixtures at the start of the season, but obviously they've just beaten PSG 4-1 in pretty sensational fashion. So yeah, West Ham are definitely going to be up against it. Eddie Howe's playing some really, really nice football. He's a very tactically smart manager. So it'll be, I think, quite an interesting game from that point of view, just from a tactical point of view, because you've got kind of David Moyes implementing his kind of low block counter-attacking style of football, and then you've got Eddie Howe with his sort of counter-pressing football, and I think it'll be a really interesting game. But yeah, I think Newcastle, I'd probably have them slight favourites in tomorrow's game, but it'll be a really tight contest overall.
Yeah, well, I like to think it'd be tighter than the same game earlier in the year when Newcastle thrashed us 5-1.
Well, yeah, definitely.
I like to think so anyway.
Well, the irony in that one is that we played better, in my opinion, in that game when we got beaten 5-1 to Newcastle than some games we ended up actually winning that season.
Yeah,
only the first half, Dennis. Only the first half. The second half was just horrendous.
The 1-0 away against Fulham was a much worse performance than the 5-1 defeat against Newcastle.
Isn't that when we conceded literally like 5 seconds into the second half or something like that? All that goodwill we just completely undid straight into the second half.
Something like that. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, well, that's happened a couple of times this season already, isn't it? So for us, so I mean, Tony, in terms of players to watch, from both teams, I mean, which players should West Ham be wary of tomorrow, and consequently, which players do you fear for tomorrow, from a West Ham point of view?
Well, from our point of view, we should fear the whole lot. Well, but yeah,
1 to 11.
Yeah, whoever plays. I mean, whether Wilson makes it or not, we don't know. If he doesn't make it, then you'll have Isak, and remember the last game when we beat you 5-1, Isak scored that goal and put his hand on his hips to watch it going over Fabianski. I mean, you've got Isak, obviously. We've got no Gordon tomorrow, so he's out suspended. But we got Almiron, who we know is quick. There's obviously Trippier. Lascelles has come into the team and come into some form, and for somebody who doesn't play a lot to come in and play 2 good games in a row is absolutely fantastic, and it just shows you how much Eddie's got these players tuned up, ready. That if you're not playing regular, but as soon as you're starting, you're going to be fixed and straight on focusing on that game. But I think Bruno will be one to watch as well. I mean, obviously he's just been confirmed to sign a new deal today, 5-year contract. So, there's Bruno to watch. Maybe Tonali if he starts or if he comes on. If Joe Linton passes his fitness test, he may start tomorrow. Remember, he scored last season against you as well. So, I mean, yeah, there's a array of players. I mean, who will play on the left? I don't know. If Wilson's fit, maybe they'll play Isak on the left. So that's another option there. Or maybe we'll switch Almiron to the left and put Murphy on the right. In the MLS, Almiron was devastating from the left. But yeah, so, and Dan Burns been absolutely outstanding at left back. And again, another one, how he's not even in this England team ahead of the likes of Maguire, who doesn't hardly play. It obviously it just baffles me why half these players aren't in. We've got no Joe Willock at the moment; he's out injured. So yeah, I mean, look, there's players all over the place. That we've got. I mean, look, for you, standout wise, when you signed Edson Alvarez, I was like, that's a player we should have gone for a number 6. I think he's a terrific player.
Yeah.
I've always highly rated this guy. So he's one to watch. Obviously, Paqueta, he scored against us before, so he's another one we potentially have to watch out for. Jared Bourne, obviously, as well. But one player who's done really well for you since he's joined your club is James Ward-Prowse.
No,
and I always said he would end up, and I did always say, because I had people saying to me, do you think Newcastle will sign him? And I said, in all honesty, I think because of him being at Southampton, you want to go to a club in London so he's closer to Southampton. And I said, he'll always end up at a London club. I didn't know which club he would end up at, and obviously yous have got him. But he's terrific at his free kicks, corners, and he's been bang on form for you this season. For 30 million, quite rightly so, West Ham hardballed because Southampton wanted 50 million and West Ham said they're not paying 50 million, and you hardballed them down to 30 million, which is a great deal. And again, he should be in the England team. But yeah, I think overall, yeah, there's a few players in your team to watch. Like there is now, as both teams are on form, and that is the thing at the moment. There's 1 point separates us in the Premier League. And it comes down to who wants it most tomorrow. But, David Moyes is going to have to be on his mettle to know that, how we play. Obviously, after the beating of PSG, I mean, look, I work where I work. I've got a West Ham fan at work. He's my best mate as well. And he said to me, he says, well, he's going to the London Stadium tomorrow. And he said to me, he said, you know what? He says, I don't know whether to be excited or fearing this game. He says, because the way you took PSG apart, he says, I'm a bit worried. He says, but, he says, if you do beat us 1 or 2-0 or whatever, he says, we just take it on the chin. But he says, because we're not even at your level yet. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting game tomorrow. Like I say, it's who wants it most.
Yeah, no, totally. I think for me, I mean, even if with the injuries and suspensions, I mean, Newcastle could still have a front three of Isak, Almiron, and Murphy, who's a decent enough player, and a midfield three of Tonali, Guimaraes, and Sean Longstaff. So that's still a pretty good, front six, as it were. I mean, Charles, which obviously we mentioned a few already, but which Newcastle players have West Ham got to look out for tomorrow?
Obviously goal scoring wise, if Wilson's not playing, then Isak's a pretty good alternative. Let's be honest. Isak's been on fire this year. He's a player that I really rated before he went to Newcastle, and obviously when Newcastle got him, I was like, he's going to do well there, and he's been firing the goals for them. But as you say, that midfield combination of any 3 players can slot into that role pretty well. Longstaff's been in banging form at the moment. Bruno's obviously a very, very good player. I mean, there's threats all around the pitch, and I think that's why it's going to be a really tough game for West Ham. We have to view it as if we're taking on like a Man City or a Liverpool, because Newcastle are that good. They're that strong in depth that we really have to kind of make sure that we've dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's. So, picking out one threat from that team is hard, because they're all in really good form at the moment. But as you say, Bill, like that midfield, especially when they have those sort of 2 pivot players, I mean, they control the game essentially. So if we can, if we can cut through them a little bit and build a little bit pressure through that, we might be able to nick something. But it's going to be a very tough game for sure.
Yeah, no, totally, man. And one player we haven't mentioned yet with his set piece delivery, and he's defending, he's been top class, but he had Mbappe in his pocket, and his set piece quality is Kieran Trippier. Do you know what I mean? So one player certainly look out for defensively and attacking wise. I mean, Dennis, which players are key for you from a Newcastle point of view?
Well, you took the words out of my mouth there. I was going to say, I can't believe I haven't spoken about Trippier. Makes the decision for Ashby to join you guys even more baffling in my eyes because he's never going to get game time, and he left. His reasons for leaving was first team football.
Especially his Livermento's joined as well.
Yeah, so he's not
And,
going to get that.
And he had a stormer against City in the Carabao Cup as well.
Yeah, pretty much. And if he had stayed in January, there would have been a period last season where he definitely would have got games at West Ham through injuries and just all our right backs losing form. But yeah, Trippier, I mean, I still, for the life of me, don't understand why Spurs got rid of him when they did. Yeah, you got that betting ban a little bit later down the line, fair enough. But yeah, absolute coup of a signing when you got him. Was it 15 million, Tony? You got him for?
12 million.
Well, there we are. There you go.
Okay.
Back to the studio, as we like to say.
Pretty much, right?
Also, again, one thing I want to talk about Newcastle, I had this conversation, I can't remember the name, it was on one of Russ's channels. She came on, the comment I made was, all of my life growing up, Newcastle, you were obsessed with getting that, your local, not local hero, but your number 9, especially after Shearer. Like, you signed your Martins, you had Andy Carroll, you signed big attacking players. For the life of me, until recently, I can't really remember there being major investment in your defence, with the rare exception of Colaccini and Woodgate, you know, in my lifetime of watching football. But that's where you've improved. You got Cher at the back, who was with you under Benitez, or even went under the radar a little bit. You got matey boy Botman, who half of Europe are after. You got Trippier, and I can't even remember who your left back is, I'll be honest with you, mate.
Dan
Burn.
And Burn. Okay, yes, that's the one, because I keep mixing up with centre back. And they are, that's your back line, absolutely sorted. Whereas the biggest weakness Newcastle always had, in my opinion, under Bobby Robson, back when you were last sort of at this level, was your defence. Admittedly, you had Shea Given to kind of make up for that. But
yeah, Pope's not a bad goalie either as well.
Not a bad goalie, but he's no Shea Given, I'm sorry.
No.
But I was saying that, so that's where I think, as much as we're talking about their attacking threat, Newcastle's also, you know, sometimes the best form of offence is a good defence, to put the Americanization on it. We've learned that our end of how we play with our style of play. But I think Newcastle have shown up, you know, they finally started investing in their defenders. Whereas, I mean, please correct me if my analysis is wrong here, but from my memory, you know, going back to like around the time when you had like Solano and whatnot, Nobby Solano and Kieran Dyer in your wings, it wasn't really huge investment in the defence other than Woodgate and to a lesser extent Colaccini for me.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there wasn't no. You know, Colaccini was one heck of a defender. Didn't have the best start when he came, but he grew into the league, and then he obviously had to play a season in the Championship. That's when that outburst on Paul Sturrock came at the end of the game when he was questioned when we beat Plymouth at home, and he said, well, how do you expect us to win a game when they've got a £10 million Argentinian centre-half playing for them? He says, you can't compete with teams like that in this league. And basically said we shouldn't be in that league. Well, yeah, we shouldn't have been in that league, but we were because of what happened. But, yeah, I mean, look, Botman, I mean, that was a bargain for like 32 million quid. You know, like I say, we had Lascelles there beforehand anyway. Cher was there beforehand. I mean, Cher was a bargain. We got him for like 3.5 million because the club he played for got relegated and had a clause in his contract that if they got relegated, he could leave for 3.5 million. Played for Benitez, but got bruised. And now that he's back in the team, under Eddie Howe, he's a different player altogether.
The relationship with Newcastle and Steve Bruce has always been weird to me. Because, like, sorry to interrupt, but like when he was at Hull, because I went up to Hull because my mates had a girlfriend at uni up there, he was absolutely adored. I remember the nightclubs like chanting his name. So I thought, okay, he must be a popular guy. Everywhere else he's gone, he's been absolutely hated. And obviously he's been proven a little bit, you know, a little bit justify that hatred. Not hatred, but like as soon as you get shot of him, look what happens. I mean, even before you spent all the money, Eddie Howe got you shooting up the league. Sorry, I didn't mean it. Just made me laugh. This first Steve Bruce comment.
I mean,
We've
never
help him, though.
Yeah, Sunderland, Man United connection as well. And it keeps, you know, and then he come out the other week and he come out with a lot of drivel as well, saying that, oh, well, I left Newcastle in a good place because, you know, he says, I said to the owners, I can't take this club any further and I'll walk out. And I thought, well, no, you're a liar because you got sacked and you got a compensation payoff. And then he said, I told the board to go for Eddie Howe as manager because I thought he's a good manager. And I thought, no, you didn't. You haven't got a clue. And I just thought he's trying to make himself look good, which he's not. And what I can't understand is the media were all against us as Newcastle fans for the way we hounded Steve Bruce out, this lovely family man. But yet, where were the media when the Aston Villa fans were throwing cabbages on him? Where were they? Were they calling Aston Villa fans for doing that? No.
I found for a good 5-6 years, both our sets of fans, especially on a radio station known as TalkSport, were absolutely derided for wanting better. And yeah, we've stuck with Moyes and it's worked out, but a lot of our ire was towards our board. But yeah, I think, and it's exactly the same. It's 6-2 freeze, as a friend of the channel would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, totally right. So, right, how's the match tomorrow going to go then, Dennis? I mean, it'd probably be a Moyes ball special. You know, sit deep, hit Newcastle on the break, especially if Bowen's up front on his own. Maybe Kudos might come in and hit Newcastle on the break.
Yeah, I mean, it depends if Antonio, the knock that kept him home is still there, absolutely. Yeah. And I, for one, think we actually played a lot better with Bowen up top away from home in Europe. As much as I'm a bit of a mark for Mickey, although he started well, last couple of games not so good. Maybe he's had a knock for a little while, who knows? But
seemed a bit more fluid up front, especially in that first half, I've got to say.
I'd say so, definitely. Yeah, we had chances that we should have been 2 up, I reckon. Yeah, and totally. Then second half, the playbook came out quite clearly, and the young lad that came on, my friend didn't even mention, because she didn't even mention any names, and as soon as he came on, it was like one of my other German mates go, "Oh, this is the Japanese Messi coming on. Beware of him." I'm like, I have no idea who this man is, and he just absolutely rinsed us down the left. So yeah, pretty much. The fluidity in the first half was brilliant. I thought Kudos had a great game, and I'm looking forward to seeing him play. But because of Newcastle, because you're attacking threat, I think we're going to see the Moyes 101. As a result, I think Mickey's going to be bandaged up and just asked to try and stretch your defence. We're going to have Bowen on the right, Paqueta on the left, line up exactly how we did against Sheffield United, in my honest opinion, because I know David, if it's the David Moyes I know, that's the tactics he's going to play. But if Mickey absolutely cannot play, I refuse to believe that he's going to start Danny Ings on his own up top against Sven Botman.
Yeah, surely not. Yeah.
Never happening in a month of Sundays. So it'll be Bowen up top with Kudos on the right if that happens.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad alternative. I mean, Charles, do you concur?
Yeah, no, I think it would be nice if Mickey starts, because obviously that's kind of why our attack has been so good this year. But if he doesn't start, then yeah, it's got to be. I thought Mabama looked really good. Well, not really good, but he looked solid when he came on. For his little cameo. But again, he's not going to start. So, yeah, I'll probably have Bowen starting or leading the front line. So, but I think in terms of the actual game, I think it's going to be really close. I think it's going to be a good game, actually. Part of me wants to lean towards a Newcastle 2-1 win, but I'm going to be a bit more optimistic and I'm going to go 2-2. I think there's goals galore in this one. But I think both sides, they play to their best. They could cancel each other out because they've both got some really good qualities at the moment. So if they're playing at their best, then it could be hard for one to break the other down. But it'll be a good game for sure.
Yeah, no, totally. I think obviously going well in the league, both sides, going well in Europe, again, both sides. Plays in good form, so it is hard to call. And the fact that Newcastle, our record against them last few games hasn't been that great, really. I think we've only beaten once in the last 6, and that was the 4-2 win at St James's. So we haven't beaten them at home for a few games now. But yeah, no, it's tough to really call, isn't it? To be honest, I think. If both, as you say, Charles, if both teams play their best, I think there'll be plenty of goals. But because of the midweek games, it is the classic who's going to start the better. And I think that whoever starts that first 20, 30 minutes, especially if there's goals, whoever settles the best might go a long way to winning the game. So, I mean, Tony, do you expect another Howe special, just, classic, press from the front, try and dominate the match? Do you see that happening?
Yeah, I do, because obviously that's our identity, the way we play. And what Howe will do is, as soon as the Paris game's finished, yes, he was like elated with that and everything, but his focus then turns to this game.
Yeah.
And because we've had an extra day's rest ahead of what West Ham have had, West Ham played Thursday, we played Wednesday, so we've had that extra day. The players will be fully focused. Now. Sorry?
I say you're going to get Jurgen Klopp started now.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. But yeah, I mean, look, we had that extra day's rest, and Eddie Howe will have the team focused on this game. We did it against Sheffield United. We were focused. The only difference with them, they were just trying to kick lumps out of us. That was the difference with them, and and the Vale fans throwing stuff on the pitch, which wasn't very good, to be fair. But yeah, I mean, look, all in all, yes, we will play our normal press and intensity game. It is. It's going to be a great game between both teams. If there is a victory, it's going to be a very narrow one, because I certainly don't think we're going to come down there and go and win 5-1 again. That's for sure. It's going to be a lot different to what it was last season. I mean, look, you did well winning that cup as well. I mean, beating Fiorentina in that final 2-1. I don't care what people say about the Europa Conference League, if it's a Mickey Mouse League or whatever. At the end of the day, it's a major European trophy.
Yeah, well, sorry, Tony, look at Villa this season. They had to score in the last minute to win their game on Thursday. Do you know what I mean? We've had 17 unbeaten. I mean, we're just pissing you at European competitions at the moment.
Yeah, and absolutely, and deserve to be there. I mean, look, as I say, that European Conference League, to me, it's not a Mickey Mouse Cup. Yous went through, you won it. But at the end of the day, it's a major trophy. But yeah, I see this game being a very close game tomorrow. I really do. And I just hope it's us that come out on top.
No, totally. Yeah, I think it'll be very close. So, Charles, you've gone for a 2-2. I concur. I think, West Ham is scoring in every game this season. And the fact Newcastle obviously are very attacking, even with the injuries up front. I think both teams will score. And, yeah, I think it'll be a 2-2 draw. Dennis, what are you going to go for?
I'm going to go for 3-2 either way.
Oh, get off that fence, Dennis. Stop getting splinters.
well, I'm thinking it's going to be more like I was going to make a joke. It's going to be the new Bradford versus West Ham. It's going to end 5-4 or something. But it's either going to go one way. It's either Newcastle. We go one of three ways. Newcastle thump us. We shithouse them, or it's going to be a highly competitive, multiple scoring goals game. And what do we want? We want the highly competitive multi-goal scoring game. So that's where I reckon it's going to go. Little thing, I reckon there will be 2 goals from set pieces. Both teams are very strong on them. So more Prowse and Trippier assists in your fantasy team. Happy days.
All right, nice one. And you, Tony, what do you think the score's going to be?
I think it could be a high-scoring game, this. I'm going to say 3-2 to us. We'll nick a 3-2. Yeah, I think we'll both teams will score goals, that's for sure. But I think we'll come out on top on this game 3-2. I fancy our chances that we were playing, and it would be nice to go to the international break on a win. And then again, we haven't got many players that we are on international duty, so it means Eddie Howe's got a squad to stop and train with. So yeah, I'm going to say we go into this international break on a win. We've been on fire, and we've only conceded 1 goal in the last 5 games, so it's not bad going at all. But yeah, and the guy in the chat, Sefton Mag, I mean, he's a great Newcastle fan, is Sefton, and when he set up the Borough, I think somebody a bit confused saying he was a Borough fan. No, he was just happy because Middlesbrough thumped Sunderland 4-0, so that's why we're happy.
Oh, yeah.
So is it a case of, even though they're both your rivals, because Middlesbrough are the slightly more irrelevant ones, you'd rather them beat Sunderland?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a bit. Yeah, I guess it's kind of the equivalent of us wanting Palace to beat Spurs.
Yeah,
I would say so. Yeah.
Well, me as anyone but Spurs. I have one rule in football. I'd happily support Millwall over Spurs. I've said that on the record.
Well, I don't concur with that, but I see what you mean.
It would be funny. It would be funny if Millwall beat Spurs in the cup. It would just be funny.
I suppose. Yeah, Tommy Hatcher will love that one. Right. Well, nice one, lads. For 40 minutes is flown by. So, anything else you guys want to touch on before we finish?
I mean,
just following on from Tony's point. Sorry, Tony. Just following on from your point earlier. I think we've definitely been shafted, both our teams, with England selections in the last couple of times. Obviously, West Ham just had Bowen called up, rightfully so, in my opinion. Mark Goldbridge would disagree and say that he's part of the worst 11 of the season, but that just speaks for itself, really. But yeah, I mean, you know, like Tony was saying, I think Anthony Gordon's been sensational. Longstaff, I mean, you know, Longstaff, Ward-Prowse, either of them could get into the England team over Phillips and Henderson at the moment. But yeah, I think it's just Gareth Southgate chooses on form apart from when he doesn't. You know what I mean? Like,
he chooses on form until Harry Maguire's off form.
Yeah, I think Gordon's unlucky because, that's probably England's strongest area in terms of depth is the wide areas. I mean, it's ridiculous how many players he can play there. So if he keeps going, then
someone like Rashford, who normally gets into Southgate squads, he hasn't been tearing up the league this year. And when you've got someone like Gordon, I don't see a reason why you couldn't at least put him in for especially these sets of fixtures where you've got one friendly and one qualifier game. Like, that friendly is a great sort of testing ground for all these unproven young talents coming up. But anyway, that's just my.
He brings Maguire into the team, but then you've got Tomori in the team. Tomori's one of the best centre backs in Italy and can't get in the England team though, but can't get ahead of Maguire. And it's like, why? It's just. It baffles me because I think Tomori's a terrific centre-half. As I say, he's one of the best in Italian football. He got player of the season. Not last season, the season before. It just shows you how highly rated he is in Italy. But yet he can't get past Maguire. So Maguire's got some hold, I think, over Southgate. But one thing it was nice was when we did beat PSG, meant we got one over Donnarumma as well after his antics when Italy won the Euros. So we sent him packing out of England with his tail between his legs, which was great. But one thing I want to say is, I mean, look, we all heard this VAR recording the other day from the Liverpool and Tottenham game. Now, when you hear that recording, it's absolutely stupidity what they were doing in that VAR room. And then you hear the replay guy saying, whoa, hang on, it's onside. You've given offside. It's not, it's onside. Stop the game. And they said, oh, no, we can't. It's restarted. We can't do nothing. And then Klopp wants the game replayed. You can't get the game replayed because of that. I mean, look, if that's the thing, then a lot of games need to be replayed. Then, we went to Anfield last season. Isak scored a goal. It was ruled offside because the VAR official said we didn't know whose shadow was who, if it was his or Gomez's, And then you've got, then they get an extra minute and a half, which Mariner added on. We don't know where he got that minute and a half from, and they score the winner. But so this, we were done by VAR last year quite a bit. So at the end of the day, the game's gone and dusted. But the thing is, though, they really need to sort this VAR out. I mean, it's just, it's not the system, it's the people running it. And it just shows you the officials we have in this country are not good enough. There's only 2 decent officials in the Premier League. One's from our neck of the woods, and that's Michael Oliver. And the other one's Anthony Taylor. They're the only 2 decent referees. The rest of them are not fit to tie anybody's shoelaces.
I disagree with you, Tony, and that just
on
shows
Anthony
you the lack of
Taylor.
quality we have. Is that we can't even decide on who our best officials are.
Yeah, exactly.
Anthony Taylor, not a catch answer. I agree with Oliver. Best of a bad bunch, but I think I have said this to people like Michael Oliver's one of the few ones. It's gotten to the stage where I consider Stuart Atwell not that bad. That's how bad we're at now. Stuart Atwell, I was there at Vicarage Road, because I live in Watford, for the Ghost Goal game. I was there when there was. It takes a lot to get Watford fans angry, but there was nearly a riot that day. Like they consider Reading a relative rival because they were within about 40-minute drive of each other. Like, so that to give Reading a goal against Watford is like, yeah, you're asking for trouble. But yeah, it's ridiculous. And we're talking about VAR decisions. Does anyone remember when Timo Pukki's beard was offside in 2020? He got found offside because of his beard. I mean, come on. But what I would say on it is, sorry to go on a tangent here, but with Klopp, wanting a replay and all that jazz, all he's done is just make Liverpool look like a bunch of mugs, in my opinion. Because all week I've been mugging off my Liverpool supporting mates, going, "Oh, you want a replay? Oh, of course you want a replay. Can we replay this game?" They've all gone, "No, Liverpool are not asking for a replay. We're not that stupid. No, we're not asking for a replay. No one is serious about a replay. We just want what's right for the game. We don't want to personally game for this. Jurgen Klopp, hold my German Weissbier, and then goes and demands a replay like a crying baby in an interview. So from now it's just full on, ha ha ha. Liverpool are mugs. Sadly, again, we're back on that train. But then it takes a sideshow away from the actual issue, because now people are not talking about necessarily what about VAR. They're now also talking about, Jurgen Klopp's crying again about VAR. If Klopp had been a bit smarter, I think he'd come out this looking a lot better, personally.
Yeah, I mean, thing is, he was one of them that voted against having the semi-automatic offside system, which is using the Champions League. And I'll tell you what, it works really, really well. It worked well in the World Cup, and it works well in the Champions League. And if they'd had that technology in, that goal would have been onside. But there again, when you do watch that footage, yes, they draw the lanes. And when you see the lanes drawn, it's the defender's foot. It hits first before it gets anywhere near Luis Diaz, and he's not offside, clearly onside. But why wasn't the other lane? So why wasn't the lanes highlighted to a green lane? So I don't. I know they said the referees were away in UAE, these few referees, but Michael Oliver was over there refereeing the game, but he come back and he was fine. So I just think it's Darren England and his assistant. I don't know what they were doing, either playing Candy Crush or whatever on their mobile phone, and too busy looking at that rather than concentrating. But yeah, and some people are blaming Simon Hooper, and I'm thinking, well, you can't blame the on-field referee, not his fault. The linesman puts his flag up. It's up to VAR to say, actually, no, you've got it wrong. It's actually onside, and that's what should have happened. But I think we should go down the road of what they've done in the Women's World Cup, which I thought was really, really impressive. And I think it could be a thing that could be brilliant to hear. But when the official goes to the monitor, or they tell her over the
you can hear what they're saying.
Then she'll go right, okay, I've made my decision, it's a penalty, and it's no goal, or I've made my decision, yellow card rescinded, it's actually a red card and you're off. I think that's brilliant. They've done that in the World Cup for the women, and I think that should come into the game, because that's a step forward in my opinion. Whether FIFA bring it in or not, I do not know. Don't know if it was just a trial, but I thought that worked really well. A no goal, offside, things like that, absolutely brilliant. And that's how it should be.
Yeah.
They don't get these things wrong in rugby, they don't get it wrong in football, in cricket. So, maybe they need to start doing that in football.
Well, the integrity of VAR is getting depleted with each weekend. So hopefully there's no VAR incidents tomorrow. We can just concentrate on the game itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Well, Dennis, Tony, Charles, thanks a lot, guys, for joining, and hopefully it'll be a good game. Well, certainly for West Ham. Well, three of us want it to be a West Ham point of view, but hopefully it'll be a good game anyway. So, nice one, lads. We'll catch you soon.
Cheers.
Thanks everyone for watching. Subscribe to Gage Football if you're new. Subscribe to Tony's channel as well. And we'll see you soon. All the best. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.